Hello everyone! In this third chemistry session of grade 12, LH and SE, you'll be introduced to Unit 3, Chapter 10 in your chemistry book, which will talk about current medicinal drugs. By the end of this session, which is session 3, you'll be able to Number 1. Define antibiotic, bacterial, and fungicidal. Here, you'll be able to differentiate between broad-spectrum and narrow-spectrum antibiotics. In addition, you'll be able to describe the resistance of bacteria to antibiotics. Moreover, identify overdose effects of antibiotics. Number 2. Define tranquilizers, in which you'll be able to describe the overdose effects of tranquilizers. Number 3. Define antidepressant drugs, in which you will be able to describe the overdose effects of antidepressant drugs. So let us begin with antibiotics. Do you know what are antibiotics? If no, let's explore it together. Antibiotics are chemicals produced by one microorganism, such as a natural antibiotic. Or it may be produced by chemical synthesis. Now, why are they produced? They are produced in order to kill or inhibit the growth of other microorganisms. As you can see in this picture, antibiotics cause several side effects, such as lower immunity, and it may be incompatible with anticoagulants, which are medicines that prevent or help prevent blood clots. In addition, it may overload the liver and cause candidiasis. Candidiasis is a fungal infection due to any type of candida, and the candida is a type of yeast. Moreover, it may disrupt the gastrointestinal tract and cause dysbacteriosis. Dysbacteriosis is a condition of having imbalances in the microbial communities, either in or on the body. Last but not least, it is incompatible with alcohol and deteriorates the skin, hair, and nails. Antibiotics are classified into two types. Number 1, bactericidal, and number 2, fungicidal. The bactericidal are antibiotics that kill bacteria, whereas the fungicidal are antibiotics that kill the fungi. Antibiotics have no action on viruses. Now we'll watch a video that will explain the role of bacteria. Antibiotics are classified into two classes. Number 1, broad-spectrum antibiotics, which are effective against a wide variety of microorganisms, if microorganisms are unknown. But their disadvantage is that they might kill beneficial bacteria, such as the intestinal flora. Number 2, narrow-spectrum antibiotics, which are effective against a specific known microorganism. So if we want to make a brief summary about the classification of antibiotics, we can say that they're classified according to their mode of action and their spectrum of action. Based on their mode of action, they're either fungicidal or bactericidal, whereas if we classify them according to their spectrum of action, so they're either broad spectrum or narrow spectrum. Sometimes the bacteria is resistant to antibiotics. So what is the reason behind that? Well, a bacterium that cannot anymore be eradicated by the antibiotic is called resistant. Bacterial resistance can be natural or acquired. Acquired resistance is usually the result of genetic modifications. As any kind of bacteria, the resistant bacteria has its own mode of action. The bacteria produces enzymes which modify the molecules of the antibiotic and render it inactive. Genetic modification of a resistant bacterium allows transmitting this resistance to its descendants. Please look at the picture and note that antibiotics do not kill viruses. So when you're infected with a virus, never use an antibiotic. Since the wrong use of antibiotics may cause or induce the bacteria mutation. Therefore, please do not use or misuse antibiotics and respect the doses and duration of the treatment. Now let's test your knowledge. Antibiotics are chemicals used to kill or inhibit the growth of microorganisms. So my question is, number 1, specify whether antibiotics can be used to treat coronavirus disease. The answer is, of course not, since antibiotics are not effective against viruses. Question number 2. Give one advantage and one disadvantage of using a large spectrum antibiotic. The answer is, the advantage is that it may be used when bacterium isn't known, while the disadvantage is that it might kill beneficial bacteria. Another application. Number 1. State whether each statement is a true or false and justify your choice. A. A resistant bacterium can be killed by all types of antibiotics. The answer is false. A resistant bacterium develops the ability to defeat specific antibiotic. B. Diarrhea is a side effect caused when intestinal floras are disturbed by the antibiotic. The answer is yes, it is true. The side effects of an antibiotic is killing beneficial bacterial such as the intestinal flora found in the stomach. Now it's your last application on antibiotics. Every treatment with antibiotics should not be stopped even though the patient feels well and he or she has the impression to be recovered. This may develop and may accelerate the resistance of bacteria. So the question is, specify a detrimental health effect of antibiotic abuse. The answer is abuse of antibiotics can develop and accelerate the resistance of bacteria. So we've been through antibiotics and have explained mostly everything about it. Now it's time for tranquilizers. What are tranquilizers? They're substances used to sedate without inducing sleep in order to relieve anxiety and excitement. In case of overdose, they can lead to coma and death. Some examples on tranquilizers are marijuana, pain relievers, inhalants, hallucinogens, cocaine, sedatives, and so on. Now we have arrived to our last medicinal drug in our current session, which is called the antidepressant. Antidepressants are drugs used to treat depression, like sadness, loss of interest and pleasure in activities. The possible overdose effects are unconsciousness, coma, and death. Depressed people usually suffer from 9 major symptoms, which are their appetite weight changes, they feel restless, they can't concentrate well, they lose the interest and the pleasure in hobbies and activities, they suffer from sleeping problems, they feel that they have a loss of energy, they're always in a depressed mood, they have feelings of worthlessness and guilt, and they may have suicidal thoughts. So they think a lot about death. We've reached now the final application in our session. The application says, a new study in Lebanon shows an increase in the consumption of tranquilizers and antidepressants. Match each item in column A to its corresponding item in column B. Column A includes A. Anxiety, B. Continuous sadness and loss of interest, C. Excitement, D. Restlessness, E. Crying spells. Column B includes number 1. Antidepressants, number 2. Tranquilizers. So what do antidepressants treat and what do tranquilizers treat? The answer is antidepressants treat A. Anxiety, B. Continuous sadness and loss of interest, and E. The crying spells. On the other hand, tranquilizers treat C. Excitement and D. Restlessness. For further information, please visit the following references. Number 1, your Chemistry Secondary Education, 3rd year, Literature and Humanities section, Educational Center of Research and Development, your national textbook. And number 2, the CRDP official website, www.crdp.org. Thank you for your attention. Good luck, everyone.